Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another Workflow Wednesday. I am none other than Fusion Phil over here at JitCAD Cam, bringing you yet again some great YouTube content for each and every one of you out there. This week, we've decided to change it up with some major updates coming out of Fusion, and what better way to announce that and show you guys what they do and answer your questions live than doing it in this format. So, as you guys may or may not know, maybe you're new here, maybe you're not, I am Fusion Phil. I'm the owner and operator of JitCAD Cam. We are an Autodesk reseller, and we're here to support you and you all in any way possible. So I'm going to go ahead and give a look over here to the chat real quick. Can you guys hear me all right? Can you guys see me all right? I think I've sorted out most of my problems. As some of you guys have said about my lovely tan or too white of complexion, audio's probably sounding good and everything. Let's go ahead. Travis is out there. We are good. So we're going to go ahead and dive right into this. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. You guys can see here at any time. If you guys have any questions, throw them in chat. If you're watching this at a later date, feel free to comment, shoot me an email using the email link down below. Awesome. We see Ben out there. Great to see you. Jeff is here as always. You guys, great to have my ongoing people. So we're going to just run down the list here. Now, for those of you that don't know, is if you missed the big old banner that pops up that says check out what's new, you do have the ability to hit the little help icon here, go to the what's new, and that'll pop out a web page. And on that web page, you can see everything that has been released in the September update. Now, I'm going to kick this off with probably one of my favorite things that I think I have seen yet, which is, for those of you out there, you probably know this frustration and things of that nature. But if I was to go in right now, and I'm going to do simulate. We're going to save machine simulation for later, but I'm going to go ahead and hit simulate. Is when you go and try to simulate out a part to see what your machining is like. And I want you guys to see over here on the left, we actually have quite a bit going on. I know I didn't run through it, but if I was to hit play at a moderate pace and start to speed that up as well, turning up the accuracy of what is going on, you're going to notice my system slows down and lags quite a bit. Now, this is being caused by the fact that the way the toolpath is being calculated is all on the CPU. Well, Autodesk has now released the ability to do a simulate. Now, I say simulate because it's not available for machine sim, but you can go ahead and turn on what's called fast simulate. So now your performance for this is heavily dependent on whether or not you have a dedicated GPU as well. I would assume in most cases, your dedicated GPU as its whole needs to have actual computing power. Again, I'm just going to put this out there. Full disclaimer, maybe one of those situations where you spend more. I'm on a laptop, guys. I'm on a 5080. It handles it quite well, as you guys are going to see here. Now, as you're going to see, there is some features that would be disabled, one of which is the different options that you have in comparison mode all the way down to model. But if you notice, if I go ahead and hit play here, and I'm going to turn this thing up to full bore, and as you're seeing this in real time, what was probably going to take 10 to 15 minutes to calculate, we've chopped that dramatically down. That, again, I have my accuracy cranked. I have my speed cranked all the way up. If I wanted to jump back to a specific toolpath now, again, is I can very quickly go to wherever that operation is. I went back to down here in my timeline, regenerate that stock, and notice how it's basically instantaneous now. Again, what you're seeing in real time is when we go all the way back to the beginning, that was my initial roughing. We're going to jump into my first finishing strategy. Again, this is almost instantaneous at the end of the day to see what's going to happen. Now, the cool thing is if you're like me, I need to know a couple of things. One, does the surface look good? Maybe, is there any tool collision? So if we go back to the beginning and I hit play here, we're going to go ahead and rifle down through everything. And then just like that, I've hit my first error very deep inside that toolpath, shaft and holder collision. Again, if you guys are using the issues tab and jumping around, that stock is being generated very quickly. Now, you guys are going to have to let me know, is this something that maybe you're on like an old 9060 graphics card and it doesn't handle it this well? Or one thing I will point out on top of that is if you are on a laptop like myself, you may need to tell your laptop to use your graphics card for this application. And I can brush up on that more if you guys want, or you could send us an email and I could help you out. So again, that's kind of the first big update is instantaneous stock processing. Now, let me go ahead and scroll down my list over here. Is on to our next one, which this one may or may not be one that drives you guys crazy. If you've ever done something inside of Fusion, let me go ahead and do this. Let's go ahead and make sure that file's saved. But let's say I start with a brand new file and I'm going to drag something in. Now, this is what would be considered a linked component. As you guys are seeing is that with that component being linked, if I jump over to manufacture, I'm getting the insert manufacturer data pop-up. Now, this could be a complete annoying thing for you. It may be good, it may be bad. Now, I do have some content coming out onto why you may not want to disable it. But again, as you guys will see here, let's go ahead and close this file out. If you simply go up to your preferences, as you're going to see in the manufacturer section, scroll all the way down to the bottom and you have what's called enable cam data import. We go ahead and uncheck that box. And if I was to rinse and repeat trying to insert something in again, we're going to get that linked component so that we could carry designs through quick and easy. As well, when we jump to manufacture, notice that there is no warning about importing that data. Now, one thing outside of that, though, is you can still go up to setup and manually override importing that data. And as you guys can see, I've brought that in. Again, we have more content coming out for you guys for jigs and fixtures and tombstones, but you can simply turn it off so you don't get the warning all day, every day. So what do you guys think? Let me know in chat. We see somebody out there still using the old Commodore 64. Let's go. I didn't know that supported Windows 11. I would be glad to see how that would run. But jumping a little further down on my list, we do now have machine management. So again, as if I go back to this mold here that we have, and I was to select the machine. Now in this case, I'm going to go ahead and grab something that is very basic. It's really not going to matter what machine I use, but I do want to grab something with a post processor just so we just don't get a bunch of warnings and problems. We're going to go ahead and throw this on the big old gantry machine. Why not? So we'll give this a few seconds to populate. As you guys can see, there's my part on a massive table for a gantry 5-axis Haas. Now, the neat thing about this is if you're legendary for jumping from setup to setup, changing out machines, you now, instead of having to go into setup and hit edit, you have the freedom to actually go straight to the machine and right click. As you guys can see, we can simply click edit machine. It's going to pop open our kinematics tree. Now, again, as you guys are going to know, you can go ahead and change different things inside of this menu, different use cases. Maybe this machine, I forgot to turn off TCP. It's not a TCP type of machine. And as you're going to see, we do have the warning that this is only affecting this specific machine for this application, right? So inside this file, we only have that one item. Now, again, we could go ahead and remove that machine, replace the machine, remove from setup. If I go in and replace machine, as you guys can see, I can go ahead, select a different machine on the fly. I could also remove from setup or remove the machine altogether. As you guys are going to see, all setups, again, very straightforward to be able to go through and set this up and define it. Now, another pro tip here is if you actually go into your machine library and you make those changes, you can go ahead and replace as well. You have that ability to make the changes inside the machine library. So let's go ahead. We're going to jump down onto our next one. Again, some really neat updates here, making life much easier to swap your machine out. As I always tell people, pay attention to the mouse clicks, right? A simple right click versus a double click, an X, a select. You guys know these workflows. They're getting better and better by the day, right? So as we're going to go ahead and see is there is one that we're not going to actually show today, but that is the improved performance when utilizing the manufacturer selection sets. Again, just something big with the chaining and the selection inside the software. But this is going to lead me to a couple of new things when it comes to our threading tools. So what I'm going to do here is we're just going to go ahead and jump into our Fusion library. As you guys would see is we're going to go ahead and create a brand new tool. So let's hit that plus sign and we're going to go in with our thread mill. And what you are all going to start to witness is we're seeing one, the ability to go in and change your thread tip type. So in this case, if you had a flat thread tip, If I can get this moved around, of course, I always forget the way everything moves in this menu, which again, Autodesk, if you guys are watching this, it would be great if this menu respected what my mouse does in the other. But as you're seeing here, is we now have that ability to do the flat, a point, possibly even things like a rounded tip. Now, I don't know if they're ever going to bring Acme threads here, but again, just the ability to do your flat, simple fixture or your flat thread tip in real time. You also have the ability to now set not only your thread tip width, but from that, you can define a minimum and a maximum. Now, job shop mentality, right? We've all done job shop stuff. You may have something that is acceptable up to a 3mm pitch, but in this case, hold on here real quick, greater than the maximum. Yep. So let's go ahead and go back to a point here real quick. And as you can see, you can define a range for that thread pitch as well. So again, this is going to make your life a little bit easier when you're setting up those thread mills that have more use. Now, what does that look like on the lathe? Well, this is going to cause me to pivot on my end because I'm going to show you guys that, one, I have modeled threads here. And that's the big no-no for years, is don't do modeled threads. Now, this next thing is going to be both for modeled threads as well as non-modeled threads. However, you do need to have said threads applied. So when I go back to my manufacturer side of things, I've already got my setup in place. But if I was to do a thread toolpath, now I'm going to go out and pick my threading tool. So again, we're going to go ahead and grab something from the default library because why not? It tends to make sure that we don't have a ton of problems. But when we go to geometry, as you guys are going to notice, we have a couple of different definition ways to define this, right? So as you guys can see, is if I click standard, it's now asking me for a thread face. And as you guys are seeing, is everything is populating as if it's going to pull the data directly off those thread specs. Now, for those of you that have looked at the what's new, there was like a little lightning bolt automatic thing. I don't know why mine doesn't show up. I don't think they actually need it anymore because you could override by changing these menus out, or you could just pick the surface. Now, as you guys can see, I picked that surface. This is a, what do they call that? Metric part. In this case, the threads are actually applied as metric. We're seeing those thread specs being pulled. Again, for those of you out there that got to take your boots off to count to 20, like myself, 35mm OD, 1.5 pitch, class of fit, even the right hand, left hand, and all of your thread data has automatically been pulled from picking that thread. Now, again, this is something that is inside of Fusion. Again, you guys know these warnings. Let's go ahead and just cancel out this menu. If I go back to design, you all are probably realizing here that I failed to turn on my design history, which kind of screwed me on this part. But to give you a little bit of an idea here of how that's going to work is let's get our history turned on. If I was to now apply threads, and again, I say thread here to this OD, again, this is what's determining what is actually being pulled, making your life, again, much easier at the end of the day. Let's go half 20. As you guys can see, that's not modeled. Class of fit right-handed. If we jump back into the manufacturer side of things, again, just doing a thread toolpath, I pick my surface. And again, we want to use a standard. And again, that standard is automatically pulling off of that surface. So again, guys, let me know, does this seem like something helpful, something useful at the end of the day? One neat thing about this is you can actually put it to standard, and then you could set that as a user default. Or if you're like people that are still using SolidWorks and importing that, you can simply go through and pick your thread size again and pull that data versus having to go back and forth, go back to the model. We'll get our major diameters and our minor diameters all in real time. So from that, let me go ahead and scroll down on my list one more time. So we got our threads knocked out. On to the last thing, which is the new trace toolpath. So as you guys may have seen it, there is now what's called turning trace. Now again, Autodesk, if you're watching this, please move turning trace above turning part, because we over at JIT Cam believe this list is more or less a checklist, or you should work top to bottom. It would make no sense to do turning trace after doing turning part, of course. Now, where's the value of turning trace? Well, there's a lot of times, if we actually go up to something like turning profile rough, and you turn on model, we actually have that ability to create a model contour And this is going to be the path that the tool actually follows, but you're going to need this defined on a sketch. So let's go ahead and go back and create some sketches here. So again, I'm going to go back to design. We're going to go ahead and make sure our timeline is on. Of course, we did just turn that on. We're going to simplify. No, I'm wrong on that. We need to go ahead and go back over, create a sketch. Let's go ahead and find our plane here. Now I think my, in this case, this part is nowhere near our origin, as you guys can see, but that's all right. We'll go ahead and get everything squared up. And then from that, if we go down to project, we can actually do a spun profile of our part. So as you guys are seeing, as we're going to do that spun profile, I have my center of rotation. And just like that, we should now have a nice projected sketch of what we want. So let me go ahead and get my part out of the way. Now, again, the luxury here is if we went through and dropped some lines, for example, actually, let's back that up one. I'm going to go ahead and drop a line here. We're going to go ahead and extend that out a little bit further. And let's just say for some reason, what you want at the end of the day is a profile like this. Now, I am going to make a couple of changes here. Looks like my screen's just blacked out on and off. And it looks like something with my display resolution has gone all crazy. Can you guys still see me? Can you guys still hear me out there? Oh, wow. Does it look normal on your end? Because it is not looking normal on my end. There we go. All right, we're good. So, as you guys know, it's nothing more than a good time when we have these problems. So let's go ahead and get our stuff all perpendicular. Again, all I'm doing here is creating a profile for us to follow. Jumping back to manufacture. Again, let's just say, for example, when we do our profile roughing, I want to turn on model, and then I can pick my chain, and that chain is what's going to be traced for that toolpath. So again, we have an open chain. We may want to extend that up and around. Let's go ahead and reselect that. And what you guys are probably questioning is, why is this so difficult? And it's because, one, I am trying to give you some information on the fly. So again, we have our 80-degree roughing tool. As you guys can see now, spinning it back around the other way, that roughing toolpath is following that sketched line. Now, why that is valuable when we start to look at something like the trace toolpath, the example they have on what's new is the ability to basically draw out your toolpath. So as you guys can see, we could go outside, inside, or face profile. And then when we jump to geometry, as you're going to notice, is it's a model contour selection, right? So if I go ahead and hit OK, again, this is something that we've developed over here. I should trademark it. When in doubt, OK your way out. But what it's asking for is the edges of selection for that toolpath. So again, we're going to go ahead and do a sketched profile. Now you can sketch that actual profile. We're going to grab some edges here. So again, let's go ahead and do chain, open. Let's say we just pick this one chain and see what we get for a toolpath. So as you're going to see here, that's going to calculate out. And again, this is going to look very weird for a lot of you out there because we are dealing with the sketch opposite of our toolpath. If I would stop being lazy and difficult, we're going to go ahead and flip our x-axis. Now our toolpaths will follow our sketch. If you guys didn't know, get our tool on the right side. There we go. Now again, what's happening here is based on that toolpath and based on the sketch selection, the tool is following exactly that, right? So again, as you can see, my red line or my red arrow, as you guys know in Fusion, the red arrow is what side the tool is on. So if I flip that back the other side, we should now be in front of the part, right? So again, as if I turn off my model, you guys are notice I'm slamming into that part pretty good. So let's go ahead and flip our red arrow. And now just like that, we are starting on the front surface and working our way either up or down in the opposite direction. So again, as you guys are seeing, is you can draw out your own custom toolpaths and your tool can follow. Now, this is going to be super valuable for anybody out there that is actually generating a toolpath based on grooves or widths or anything of that nature. So again, what we're going to do is we're going to go back because it looks like it didn't like that open chain. Let's go ahead and just grab this top chain this time. And as you're seeing, sideways compensation, overlapping model. So again, based on your tool and everything and your compensation of your tool makes all the difference at the end of the day. So again, guys, let me know. What do you guys think? What do you feel? Do you feel like this is something good? Is this going to be a great actual toolpath? What about the other stuff? You guys tell me on the comments. Please tell me what GPU you guys are using, as well as are you seeing a dramatic performance increase or not? Now, before I go, you guys know, if you like this content, want to see more content, we have laid out our videos for the next couple of weeks. We are on every Wednesday and Friday with a Workflow Wednesday into a free support Friday. And outside of that, we have been kicking around the idea of releasing more content outside of those two videos. Now you tell us, do you guys want to see something more like an LMS system? I've heard a lot of people are actually asking that they would like to see a guided step-by-step walkthrough of all the toolpaths, all the options. This is something we could simply offer inside of our support portal. Now, outside of that, if you guys really do like this content, want to see more content like this, go ahead and hit the subscribe button. Don't forget, if you learned something new, it's actually over this way. Go ahead and buy us a beer, buy us a steak with the link down below. We'd be happy to take care of those in a very fast fashion. And as always, it's not what you know, it's who you know. You guys know Fusion Phil over here at CAD Cam. And with that, we would love your business. We would love to help you in any way possible, from post-processors to training to even adding more content. And just as somebody said, you don't know what you know. I have the luxury of seeing what most people do to give you a better idea on how to do what you are doing better or more improved. So let's go ahead and get back to it. I hope to see you guys all on Wednesday, or not Wednesday, see you guys on Friday at 11 a.m. And with that, I'm going to let you guys get back to it because I think most of you, your lunch break is over and you need to get back to work, right? Bye. Have a good one.